What's up, dudes? Max here, back with an update to Street Fighter V and Season 2 that a ton of people have been asking me for over the past couple of weeks. I wanted to wait a little bit because the update files for Season 2 have recently dropped, and I knew something was going to come as a result of it. Many of you already know what I'm talking about, and it's the 5 characters that have yet to be announced for the second season of Street Fighter V. Let's go over everything we know about these 5 characters and what we think it is outside of just the silhouettes. The first biggest hint of information actually came from Capcom directly, and it's the fact that all characters that will be appearing in this game for Season 2 outside of Akuma are brand new characters that have not been playable in Street Fighter games before. Whether or not they're new to the Street Fighter universe or come from different games are guest characters, all we really simply have to go on is that these characters were not playable in any Street Fighter game before. So if we're talking any character that's from Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, any character from the Alpha games, anything like that, you have not played as them in any other regard from any previous Street Fighter game. So with that in mind, there is one specific image that dropped a few days ago that we sadly have to debunk because I was looking forward to this one being true more than any of them, and it's this one. Specifically Helen from the story mode, next to Sagat Q, one of Bison's dolls that you fight in story mode, and a redesign of Sodam from Street Fighter Alpha. Just based on the fact that none of these characters have been playable in the Street Fighter universe before, this one is sadly debunked outside of a couple characters which make a lot of sense. But Sagat Q and Sodam, which is the 3 that I was looking forward to the most, I really like that redesign of Sodam a lot, and the stuff that they have shown of the character redesigned on the Capcom website is actually really cool. This one hurts to say this is not real, but God, do I wish it was. The other big possibility, based on additions in a stage, specifically the beach stage we saw earlier this year, was the inclusion of rival school characters. And yes, not many rival school characters have actually made appearances in Street Fighter games, so this is a pretty good possibility, albeit they're technically guest characters. Guest characters are still on the list completely, but the one image that did show up that everyone was tweeting at me of Hinata is sadly fan art. The incredibly talented artist that made this image actually made it to fit the silhouette of the character. So, as much as many people wanted a Project Justice / Rival Schools character to show up in Street Fighter V, including myself, this one sadly is not true either. Now the next image, which showed up a little while after the first 5 character silhouettes were revealed, was what everyone thought it was going to be. Based on artwork that did show up on the Capcom website, we have 4 characters that have not appeared in a Street Fighter game before, and 1 character that didn't even really exist. The Capcom Fighting All-Stars game was a canceled Capcom fighting game back in the very early 2000s that never eventually came out, but did feature some characters that were never in a Street Fighter / Capcom game before and were completely original. They do show these characters on here, which is crazy that they're even showing them, but this site, including many other designs, even shows Street Fighter EX characters, and we've heard a lot about how EX characters might be a very difficult thing going forward due to the rights of those characters being split between Capcom and the game's original designer, which was Arika. And while the silhouettes are very similar to many characters on here, there has been some hints from Capcom developers themselves that you might be seeing another doll in a playable form, which is making me think that Satsuki, the doll that you actually fight in the story mode of the game, is probably going to make an appearance. The other one, which matches so perfectly to even other silhouette artwork that has dropped over the past few days, is Helen from the story, who is also Gil's sidekick that you see throughout the Street Fighter 3 games. Helen and Satsuki, I think, are practically confirmed at this point, based on all the information available, but the other characters we are still kind of up in the air. There's also been some fleeting rumors that Gotetsu could make an appearance in this season as well, but nothing concrete as of yet. Now, so let's get to some final conclusions. The one thing I was saying earlier is that all the data files that came through recently with the Street Fighter Season 2 patch have had some pretty interesting information that has been data mined. Now, a lot of stuff was data mined with Street Fighter V early on, especially the Season 1 DLC characters, so many of these things could be just throwing us for a loop. Hell, even a lot of the silhouettes could be throwing us for a loop, because if you go back and look at some of the earlier ones in Season 1, really didn't match any of the character art we would eventually see for those characters when they're released. But the big one is that Nadeshko, the tag team partner of Armika, which does make an appearance in the game, although technically not playable, is something that has shown up within the data and has some pretty conclusive evidence. Even a character model with unique animations has popped up in the game recently. Another very high chance is the character Azam. You've never seen him before except the story mode for Street Fighter V. He's the guy that shows up with Rashid every once in a while and essentially accompanies him throughout the game. These two make a lot of sense because it would be the first time, not that they've shown up, but they would be playable in the Street Fighter universe. So we have 4 characters that have a very high chance of appearing in Street Fighter V Season 2, including Helen, Azam, Nadeshko, and Satsuki, and all of them have made an appearance in the game in some way, but not playable. I think these are very likely, but that does leave us with one character that is outstanding and we don't exactly know yet, but there has been some evidence that has shown up recently over on the Reddit Street Fighter page that leaves me extremely hopeful. I don't think this can actually happen, but if it does happen, it could mean a lot for the future of the Street Fighter Capcom fighting franchise, as well as future Capcom fighting games. Call it wishful thinking, but a lot of this silhouette matches Iori from King of Fighters. Iori has technically never been playable in a Street Fighter game, only the Versus titles from way back in the day, so I think this is an awesome possibility. Do I think it's true? Very low chances, but it just means a lot going forward for Capcom fighting games and their relationship with SNK. With all things considered, there was the main guy who actually made the battle mechanics for several Capcom fighting games over the span of 20 years, recently departed the company to go work on King of Fighters 14 with SNK. And considering that that relationship could already kind of be there, and Capcom is definitely aware that the Capcom vs. SNK franchise is something that is very near and dear to many hardcore fans' hearts, I don't know, this could be a really awesome nod to the future. The characters that would make me extremely happy, of course, would be like Q, Sagat, the redesigned version of Sodam, Iori, but the likelihood of that is just not happening, and it seems like we're getting a lot of characters that have already shown up in Street Fighter V story mode. It is what it is, but we're gonna find out more information very soon. All of this stuff is not concrete right now. There was that data mining that did have some pretty conclusive evidence, but we don't know if that is just placeholder dummy information from Capcom to kind of throw us for a loop. Either way, based on all the information, those are my predictions for the characters that we're going to have in Street Fighter V Season 2, and let me know what you guys think of it in the comments below. As always, dudes, thank you a ton for watching. I'll be back with more information as soon as it's available. My name is Max, and I'll see you next time.
Akuma wins.